So, normally our speakers give us a fun fact, but he refused to. He said he refuses to participate in this. So, but in all seriousness, no. This is probably one of the early founders of the data science DC community. He's done so much for this community. I've known him for 12 years, give or 10 with a confidence interval of between 8 and 13, right? We'll go with that. For a very long time. I have nothing to say at this point beyond I've introduced him so many times. But no, he's seriously one of the founders of this meetup group, someone that I've really considered a close friend for a very long time. I know I told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again anyway. That when I texted him that my wife was pregnant, he called me like 30 seconds later to talk to me and say how excited he was. So he's that type of guy who escalates a text to a phone call for things that really matter. No, that's a good thing. Escalates a text to a phone call, like when it actually matters, when he actually cares. It shows that he cares about you as a person. So please welcome one of the founders of this community here, Mark.
Hello, everyone. Really? This is how I start my class every week. And then last night, like half of the room was like, woo! And the other half was like, hello, everyone. Thank you. All right. I only have 19 minutes and 42 seconds, so I'm going to try to get this in. My name is Marck Vaisman, as Jared introduced me. Yes, I did call him when he told me he was pregnant. But Jared, you didn't call me today when you texted me, like, what's going on, that I wasn't here. OK. Anyway. Let's start with a story. Well, for those that don't know me, yes, my day job is I work at Microsoft, been there for 7 years. I work with Azure Cloud, work with customers, helping them use our cloud for a bunch of stuff, mostly AI these days, so as you can imagine. And I am also an adjunct professor here at this program. Been teaching here for, I don't know, last track of long time. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you a story today. But let's start with a poem. In the world of data, they met. R and Python, a duo well set. With graphs and with code, their love story flowed. In algorithms, their hearts were beset. Thank you, ChatGPT. Please, let's make this interactive. If you want to heckle at me, go ahead. Because I have a lot of opinions and I've got a lot of things to say. So if you feel like heckling, just no tomatoes, please. Please join Waldorf and Statler, and let's do this. So once upon a time, there was R and Python. R and Python sitting on a tree, coding, coding data, happy as can be. R with plots, so bright and clear. Python's code, a joy to hear. Again, thank you, ChatGPT. But then resentment kicked in, and they started fighting. Oh my God. Because one thought it was better than the other, and the other thought it was better than the other, and you know how these things escalate. And well, I mean, we've all had our fights, right, with whomever, and you know how things go. So, in the realm of data, a battle unfolds. R and Python, both mighty and bold. R with its stats, so precise and clear. Python with its versatility, engineers cheer. That's kind of the overall feeling, right? But before I keep going, I want to ask, who is an R user? Well, that's probably a given, but who is an R user in this room? OK, who is a Python user in this room? OK, much friendlier audience. I gave a version of this talk to a Python-centric audience, and oh my God. So this is really the title, should be really the title of the talk. The things about Python that drive me mad as an R user. Who's with me on this? Yes, good, awesome. And so of course that's the 10 things I hate about you. What, 20-year-old picture movie now? But nonetheless, it's a fun movie, and yeah, I think it just represents sort of the feeling right now. So why? So fun fact, probably Jared typically says this sometimes, but he says, I learned R. I started using R in around 2009-ish, 2010. So it's been a long time. And I've mastered it. I really know it well. I use it a lot. I was part of the community. I started running the R meetup here in the DC area without knowing R. I learned R by running the meetup. Janet's here. Janet knows. Hey, Janet. Hey, Will. Tommy. Oh, they're data community DC folks. Who else is here from data community? Abigail. Sorry, I can't see. Hey. Thank you for being here. So I started doing this, and again, I've mastered R, and I love R, and everyone knows that. Even my students know that. Students, hey folks, who's in the room today? Hey! So I've been using R for a long time, and over the course of many years, right, I'm using Python a lot more. So Microsoft's, our SDKs, a lot of our internal tools are Python-based. I'm using Python a lot more for non-data science tasks. And it just, ugh. And even though Pandas has been around for such a long time, I never, like, I really, for data science things, for data processing, for data viz, all of these things, I just never wanted to use Python. Not a bad thing, I just didn't. I mean, I have never really fully understood the mental model. Well, I understand it now, but when I first started, it was just really, really confusing. But nonetheless, I've been using Python a lot more, and still to this day, I still struggle with a lot of different things that I already know, yet they constantly bite me when I try to do things with Python. And there's just a lot of things that drive me bananas. And again, not that it's a bad thing, really. So this talk is really not about making an argument for which one is better. It really isn't. Okay? There may be some trash talking about both. We'll see about that. It's about the gripes, right? Or not the gripes, because it's some gripes. I'm going to talk about some of my gripes as a long-term R user that has embraced Python. Because yes, at the end of the day, they're tools, they're a means to an end. And in today's world, yes, we need both. We do. It's sort of a fact of life. And whatever new tool is coming into play, and even in my classes, I teach a data viz class and teach both R and Python sort of side by side together. The big data class is mostly Python just because of all the infrastructure stuff and the cloud things is really more Python centric, but nonetheless. So anyway, it's not about that. However, let the fighting begin. Ding, 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 ding. All right, gripe number one. Oh, yes. Yes, the big zero indexing notation. Yes. Oh, okay. It sucks. I understand. What? Really? Okay, fine. I understand the rationale why this is, right? Yes, there are several computer languages that are zero index. I've read a couple of different versions about that. About why the zero indexing. One of them was about memory referencing. One of them was, anything elevated to the power of 0 is 1, so it becomes your first item, something along those lines. But again, when you're working with data, when you're working with data points, when you're working with like sets, these are, okay, even though they're digital, they're still like tangible items, right? It's a count. We're counting stuff. So the first one, like Excel, like what's your first row? Number 1, right? So in an array, like an array, a matrix, data frame, like your first row is row number 1, and your third element is element number 3. And if I have 100 elements, I have 100 elements. I mean, the count's still fine. It's just really the indexing that, just drives me bananas. So let's generate a sequence from 1 to 5. So in our trusty R friend, we do this. We go from 1 to, we say sequence of R 1 to 5. We check the object's types. Okay, well, it generated an integer, a bunch of integers, which makes sense. We want the third element. We index number 3. We get number 3, which is expected, right? We generate range of this in Python, right? So range from 1 to 5 actually generates that. But when I say type sequence, this is like one of the first annoying things. Like, yes, I know it's an iterator. Yes, I know it's a range object, which is also an iterator. Yes, I know all of this, but still, I have to figure out, I have to sort of, remind myself that I have to use the n-1 indexing to get the one I need. Because if I type in sequence pi3, what do I get? I get the wrong one. And why do I need to iterate over something just to get the value out of it, right? It's annoying. Okay, fine, but still, it's annoying. Okay. And then it's like sub-indices. So it's like open set indexing, right? So it's like R1 to 5, it's 1 through 5, beginning and closed interval. In Python, it's 0 to 4 or whatever it is, but it's an open interval, and then it does include the last index. So again, yes, I know this, and yet every time I keep like just struggling with this. Ding, 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 ding. Round number 2. Okay, wait, who wins here? Yes, 1 point for R. Good, yes, awesome. No, okay, round number 2. Naming conventions of libraries and submodules. So in R, we install the package. I just, typed in name of my package with, not camel casing, Pascal casing, right? Because the package names are case sensitive. So we install a package. The package is in CRAN by its name. Names are case sensitive. That's fine. When we load the library, we actually load the name library of my package, or we can use the name of my package, : my function. We install a library in Python. So I installed scikit-learn because I'm going to do some machine learning. From scikit-learn, import something. Is this going to work? Okay, you beat me to the punchline. Why? So in Python, the module names are different. So not all of them, some of them. Many are the same, like when you install a package, you can import the library, but there are also many that are not. And it's just annoying because you have to remember that the way you reference the library, or at least when you call it, it's different. And then there's submodules, right? I mean, in R, again, look, like I said, I'm not here to judge which one is better, really, I'm not. This is just me really voicing my frustrations and gripes. So again, there's different submodules and whatnot, and you just have to know where, like, especially with large packages, something like scikit-learn that has a bunch of submodules, or a lot of the modern packages, a lot of the cloud stuff, and I know this because I work with them for a living, is like, they're also like that. We have like one base package with many submodules, and you just have to keep track of where things are. Yeah, there's the documentation, but still, it's just not intuitive. Who wins here? Okay, 2 points from R, yay! Why? Okay, Abigail, we got your point. We'll talk about that later. Thank you. Round number 3, ding, 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 ding. Viewing function source code. So, in R, when we're using a function from a library, we can just type it. Typically, if it's exposed. If it's not exposed, you can't really see it. But if it is exposed, what's the word? It's not exposed. It's I forget. You can actually see the source code of the function by typing the name. And here, like, this is getwd, get working directory. So it's an internal function, so I can't really see it. But then if I go to like something like ggplot, this is a little bit tricky because this is like the underlying method. So yes, I mean, both languages are object oriented. And again, but for the most part, you can see much of it sort of relatively easily. And then you can go into the source code itself also to see the function. You can do that in Python too, but if you actually want to see, you can't really see the source code of a function in Python. So if you want to like understand what's going on under the hood, it's less convenient, right? Yes, you can go to the source and blah, blah, blah. And I read on Stack Overflow, there's this package called dill, which allows you to actually see so you use this get source function. Again, just for what it's worth. So who wins this one? Oh, I forgot about this is not docstrings though. No. R? All right, so let's just say, okay, fine. It's a draw. Let's call this one a draw. Ding, 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 ding. In-place modification of pandas data frames. So if you're an R user and you go to Python, and yes, there's pandas and all this great stuff, in the tidyverse, let's say you've got a data frame and you run the code on the left-hand side. You take your data frame and you remove that first column. If you do this in pandas, what happens if you do like the first line? Data frame dot drop column 1. It doesn't work. No, you have to reassign it. I mean, it does work, but it's also confusing because I don't remember the place. Like you actually, for this to sort of be, to like modify the original data frame, if you do this and I don't reassign it, then yeah, I mean, obviously I'm dropping it and I can use it further downstream. This works, I have to reassign it. or actually this, where we say that use the method with the in place equals true methodology. So again, it's just something to keep in mind that. Right, but typically, most people will do something like this, or at least, again, look, I'm not making any arguments to which one is better, okay? All I'm saying is I'm just voicing my opinions. Let's keep going because I only have a few minutes left. There's more, trust me, there's plenty more. Round 5. Printing, this is similar to the other one before, like printing the contents or structure of an object that's an instantiated class. So in R, obviously both are object-oriented. You can, whatever object you can do, you can run the str function, right? Which shows you the internal structure of the object. You can see if it's like an R3 and R4 class or S3, S4, you can see the slots, you can see, if it's a list, like that kind of thing. In Python, if it's like a standard object and I forget the function, but it works. But if it's an iterator, again, we have to iterate over something to get to the thing that we want to get to, and it's a pain in the ass. So yeah. Anyway, and yes, there's the itertools package, but I just need to use another package to kind of, because you can do, in an iterator, you can't directly index into an iterator and extract an element. Yes, I know an iterator can be a list, an iterator could be something else, but it's just like another layer of like meta layer that doesn't let me get easily to what I want to get to. Who's the winner here? R? Okay, so that's what, 3, we got 3, no, 4, no, 3 wins, 3 points at least and 1 draw. This was 5, no, we've got 4 in draw. Okay, round number 6. Environment. The pain of our existence. So in R, we use R. R is relatively easy. When we install R on our machines or in a server or whatever, there's typically a single R executable, right? And yes, okay, we may have a very bloated main environment, like kind of sort of like the default environment with like a bunch of packages, and that's okay. Okay. Okay, in Python, oh my God. Okay, so this is old, right? Because again, we're not using easy install anymore, hopefully. But if, so in Python, especially like if you're on Mac OS or you're in Linux, right? You've got the system Python. Then you can have different versions of the actual Python executable. On top of that, you can have different versions of libraries. And yeah, I mean, there are solutions to it, but both of them have adopted some solutions to them. But in the Python world, it's just so much more complicated. So I think this was an easy win for R. I mean, really? What do you think? Agreed. All right. So cool. So we got what? 4 R's. We're on a roll here.
How many wins do we have?
I think we have 4 wins. So let's go back. So let's see. So this one's R. That's 1, right? This one's R. That's 2. This one we said was a draw. No. Okay, so that's a draw. I'll just count the wins. In place. So this one, I'd say R is the winner here. That was a draw. Okay, so 2 draws. So we've got 4 wins and 2 draws. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah. So with the time, okay. You know what? Let's talk about this. Come talk to me at the break and just tell me what your gripes are. But I do want to share, right? Yes, they are different. They work very differently. We are using both. So, all kidding aside, there are some actually cool things about both that I think you should be aware of if you don't know what these are. So the first thing, and again, when I say that they're not necessarily available, there may or may not be available, or these are some things that I've identified that I think are cool from each individual one. So on the Python side, I don't know if you knew this, but you can actually, if you've got like a long integer like this, you can use underscores, and it's just, and it will treat it as an integer, and it's just great for readability, and it works on different bases. Also, you can have a function that returns multiple values, something that R can't do, and it really is handy sometimes. I mean, there are dictionaries. R doesn't really have a dictionary equivalent, and for what it's worth, it's just another data structure. On the R side, obviously, we've got I mean, on the statistical side, obviously, there's a lot more on the R side, for sure. RStudio, RStudio has been there for a long time, and I think that's always been a great win for the R community. The tidyverse as well, right? Yes, there are implementations of tidyverse in pandas, but again, it's like it still like doesn't feel natural. And then non-standard evaluation, which just makes writing code so much easier. So nonetheless, right? And then here are some of the cool things that each has adopted from one another. So R from Python. So will, F strings. Yes, I forgot to put that here. So glue, which really is like F strings, those are awesome. I use those all the time. Whether it's Python or R, I use sort of that. Op parse, which is modeled after Python's arg parse, which is for passing in variables for executable. header2, which is modeled after Python request, which is a great HTTP client library. And then yes, RN, which is fairly new-ish, right? I mean, yes, Python has had environments for a long time, but again, you have VMs, you have Conda, you have pip, you have virtual env, like there's just different. So it's just really complicated. At least on this one, we just have like a single manager and that sort of thing. And then, when it actually comes to working with both, especially for like, data science tasks or tabular data type related things, there are newer tools that are available in both languages that are just really powerful, right? So things like polars, for example. And then you've got the backend, so Apache Arrow, which is really the in-memory representation of data, which suppose I actually haven't used it much this way, but you can interchange data between R and Python in a same session. You do need to use reticulate though. What I'd like to see, I don't know if it's possible, but I reference the same data in memory from two different processes that are not like a Python process. It's not using reticulate and an R process. I think that's doable. I'm not sure to do it. And then obviously Parquet, which is open source data on disk. And then last, obviously Positron. I don't know if you folks know about Positron, but Positron was launched also by Posit a couple of months ago, and they forked VS Code. So last year I actually gave a talk around kind of like RStudio versus VS Code for using R. And I found out, I learned about this a few months ago, and I've been using it, and it's really, really cool. And it really, it's a first-party IDE citizen, and it treats both languages as first parties, and it really makes using both languages at the same time really, really easy. It's still in development, but it's really got a great place to go. So after all of this fighting, our friends reconciled, and they made new friends. Obviously, like I said, this is just one of a bunch of different tools. This is one of Alison Horst's great illustrations around R and Python and Office and Excel and GitHub and Jupyter. They're all happy at a party and dancing. And they lived happily ever after. So in code they entwine, R and Python, hearts align, data love, divine. Thank you.